Alright, morning guys, welcome back, and this video we are going to start our second unit, and the second unit is going to be on the urinary system. So let's go through, and first we'll talk about the anatomy, and then later on in the videos we'll get into some of the physiology. So if you want a quick overview of the urinary system, of course you can go to this link, and like I said before, I won't be showing any videos on these video lectures. I'll let you go and explore those on your own time. Okay, so here is our urinary system. We're going to have four components of the urinary system. The major player, the one that does the most of the work, of course, up here are the kidneys. We've got two kidneys, and they're going to be responsible for a lot of different functions, and we'll talk about those as we keep going. We're also going to have the ureters, which is a long tube that will bring the urine from the kidney when it's produced, and it'll be held down here in the bladder, which is a storage unit, storage area for urine. And then finally we'll have the urethra, which is how the urine will get out of the body. So those are the four main components of the urinary system. You can see here, this is a great slide here. This gives you the major function of each part of the urinary system. So the kidneys, the ureters, the urinary bladder, and then finally the urethra. So this is a good slide for give you a quick, concise summary of what each part does. Now, the major functions of the urinary system are these three here. Okay, excretion, so removal of organic waste or products from the body fluids. Elimination, removal of these waste products from the entire body. And then finally, homeostatic regulation. Okay, the urinary system plays a major role in maintaining constant levels of volume of the blood, the different solute concentrations of the blood plasma. So it's a major function of the urinary system to have or maintain this homeostatic regulation. Super, super important. Alright, so the kidneys are, like I said, the major organs of the excretory system, and their function is to produce urine. Now, urine is a fluid. We produce this every day. It's basically a byproduct of filtering our blood and removing things that we don't necessarily need, depending on our metabolism during that particular time. What is going to be found in urine? There's going to be a lot of different things we find in urine. Mostly going to be water. We're also going to find ions and some small soluble compounds. A urine test, for example, if you go to the doctor, quite often they'll ask you for a urine test, and basically the reason they do that is because it's really simple, it's really cheap, it's non-invasive, and they can tell they can get a good idea of your health at that particular time based on what's excreted in the urine. So we look for levels of stuff that should normally be there, and if those levels are normal, then that's fine. And then we also look for stuff that shouldn't be there, and if something's not there, then we get an idea of what could possibly be wrong if you're feeling sick or anything like that. So the homeostatic regulation of producing and what's in urine, what's excreted, is really, really important. Okay, so the kidneys are what we call retroperitoneal, and we call them that because of their position, so where we find them. So we find them just above the waist, towards the rear, towards the posterior of the back, and it's between the peritoneum and the wall of the abdomen. And this picture down here is not quite as clear, but if I go to the next one, we get a good idea of where the kidneys are located. So here is the peritoneal cavity right here, this yellow line. And then the kidneys are behind that, so that's where we get the retroperitoneal. So here's each kidney, and you can see the kidney has a really big blood supply. It's got major arteries coming in from the aorta, and then it's also got major veins leading out of it through the inferior vena cava. So major blood supply passes through the kidney so that the kidney can efficiently function as a type of, not a filter, but a processing organ to maintain the composition of our urine. Now, the kidney also has some protective layers. You're going to see some on the outside, you're going to see 3 layers of connective tissue. Now, if we were lucky enough to be able to go to lab, which we can't, although Mr. Aaron's going to have a look at that with you guys in lab tomorrow, when you actually hold a removed kidney from the kidney that we've taken out from sheep in our case, you'll actually be holding a part called the renal capsule. And the renal capsule is directly on the outside of the kidney, and it gives the kidney its firm shape and structure, or it helps maintain the structure. On the outside of the renal capsule, you'll generally find a layer of adipose tissue. And if you guys can remember back to your histology lab, adipose, of course, is fat tissue. So above the capsule, we're going to have a layer of fat, and that's going to add a layer of protection, shock absorption around the kidney. And on the outside of that fat, we're going to find another layer of connective tissue called the renal fascia. And this fascia is a thick layer of connective tissue, collagen fibers, and that tissue is going to serve to hold that kidney in place where it should be, behind the peritoneal cavity. So those are the 3 layers on the outside of the kidney that help protect it and also to hold it in place. All right. This slide's a little bit wonky. Let's see if I can fix it. There we go. All right. So we're going to have another look at some gross anatomy, or another layer of macro anatomy, I guess. If we slice the kidney open, it's pretty obvious, and you'll see these layers in the dissection that Mr. Aaron will show you tomorrow. But you'll be able to tell these 2 tissue layers when we look at them. The outside part of the kidney, this area right here, is what we call the renal cortex. And then the area inside of that, this area basically that goes along here like this, oops, it covers this part too, that's going to be the inner medulla. The inner medulla will look like a pyramid, a triangle shape, so you'll see them organized in areas like that. And the reason why it looks different is because of the different components of the cells that make up the kidneys, and we'll talk a lot more about that as we get a little further into the unit. All right. Oops. My video recorder is getting a little wonky today. All right, so let's talk about the internal organization of the kidney. The first thing we're going to have is our external layer, which we call the cortex, and you can see that again here. So the cortex is labeled, and you can see it's that thin white line that goes along the outside of the kidneys. Inside of that is where we're going to have the medulla, and the medulla is going to be made up of these renal pyramids. So they're shaped like triangles, and we call them pyramids. In between each pyramid, you can see there's a layer. It looks like cortex, but it's actually still part of the medulla, and we call those the renal columns. So this area right here is going to be a renal pyramid, and then that area in between the pyramids, we call those the renal columns. So this is just talking about some anatomy, internal anatomy of the kidney, just going over a little bit of the structure. Here's another part, another half or a bisected kidney. Again, you can see the outside part here, which is going to be cortex, and then the inside part here, which is going to be medulla. Now, what we want to show you on this slide here is an area in the center of the kidney that we call the hilus. Now, the hilus is exactly in the middle of the kidney. If you think of a kidney shape, it's shaped like a bean, and it's got that little indentation that goes in. Well, that is going to be the hilus, the indentation that goes in. At the hilus, this is where we're going to find 3 different structures. We're going to find the renal artery, which brings oxygenated blood into the kidneys to be processed or filtered. We're going to have the renal vein, which takes the blood that's been processed or filtered back to go back to the heart so that it can get oxygenated and travel throughout the body. And we're also going to have the ureter. Now, the ureter is going to be the structure that takes the urine, which is formed in the kidney, and carries it down to the bladder for storage. So those are the three main structures we're going to find at the hilus. Now, another structure that we need to talk about is the renal sinus. The renal sinus, it's a little bit hard to wrap your head around, but a sinus is generally an empty space. Now, we don't have many empty spaces in our body. Usually if there's place there, there's going to be something to occupy that space. And it's going to be the same for the kidneys. So the renal sinus is going to be the area behind the structure, the ureter and these calyces, and we'll talk about those in the next little slide. But it's going to be an empty space, and generally in the kidney it's going to have blood vessels, it's going to have branches of the ureter, and it's also going to be filled up with a bit of fat. So it's an empty space technically, but there are lots of things that occupy that space. Now, another distinguishing or another category we can make is we can have a renal lobe. A renal lobe is basically going to be a section of the kidney that's going to include this whole part right here. Okay, it's going to include the cortex, it's going to include the parts of the medulla, and it's also going to include some of these renal columns. Now, a renal lobe works as a unit, and as a unit, blood is going to pass through these renal lobes, and we're going to eventually end up with the production of urine. The urine will drain down into these structures here, where it'll collect, and it'll eventually pour down the ureter and head down to the bladder. So each one of these renal lobes works together as a unit to help process the blood, filter it, and produce urine so that we get rid of metabolic waste. So if we have a quick look here, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 renal columns, 7 renal pyramids, which means 7 renal lobes. And that's typical for an adult human kidney. Now, another structure that we can identify is a papillae. Now, a papillae is going to be found right at the tip of the pyramid. So this is going to be a papilla here, this is going to be another one here, and what they do is this serves to be a kind of a collecting point for urine. So as urine's formed, it drips down through these collecting tubules and from the nephrons, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later, and it goes into the papillae. These papillae will drain into what we call a minor calyx. So the minor calyx is this almost empty space that goes into each papillae from each pyramid. So a minor calyx is one of these things. When we get several minor calyxes together, we get a major calyx. So this is going to be a major calyx because it drains 1, 2, 3, 4 minor calyx. So here's one, and here's another major calyx right here. So the calyxes are gathering points for urine as urine's produced. The minor calyx is where it's gathered from the papillae, from each renal lobe, and then a major calyx is where several calyces, which is plural, drain from each 4 or 5 different renal lobes. Finally, after we get past the minor calyces and then the major calyces, we'll get to the renal pelvis. And the renal pelvis is probably one of the bigger areas in the kidney, this area right here. And this is an area where all urine is going to be collected. From there, it'll flow down the ureter and into the bladder for storage. Alright, so this slide here is a great summary slide for you guys to have a look at. It shows you all of the different internal anatomy of the kidney, and you guys will be responsible for each one of these terms. So this is a great review for everything we talked about so far in this video. So you guys should have a look at this. You should be familiar with all of these terms, know how to locate them, where to find them, and they'll become a little bit easier to understand the physiology once we have mastered the anatomy. Alright, stay tuned for video number 2.